Hi everyone, Steve here from theturtlefollower.com, and in this video we're going to take a look at the stock market outlook for this week. Every weekend we put out a video just to kind of give an idea of where we think the market's going, identify the trend. And one thing that I did actually on Wednesday, just because of how everything was acting, I put out an update video. So definitely go back, check those last couple out. It'll give you a good basis for what we're going to go over today. So we've been talking about the idea of potentially having this head and shoulders top, where we have a left shoulder, a head, and then a right shoulder. And we were considering this small pop here, I guess you can call it, as the right shoulder. And we said, well, we have to break down below these lows, this and that. So I still think that may be a valid pattern, but then we also identified a potential trend line going back, and these are the S&P futures, so they may be a little bit different on the S&P itself, but I usually like to go by the futures. I think they have a lot more weight just because they're traded much more often during the week. But looking back, we obviously had a rough week. Okay, we could see here that we basically, let's see, this is the 9th, so this was last Friday. This was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you can see we just continued this kind of waterfall effect of closing lower every day. Okay, you can see where the opens were, where the closes were, and we just continued all the way until we hit Friday. Okay, now Friday was a big day because I even put out a little note that we were starting to break below this big tail on Thursday, and that's usually a bearish sign. When you bounce like this, you would expect the momentum to kind of carry you higher. Didn't happen. Thursday we came in, we came right down, but we came right down to this trend line, and sure enough, Friday ended up that we bounced right off of it. Now I want to go back to a 2-year daily chart just to give you a better look at this trend line. Okay, so this is a trend line we drew basically from August of 2013, and it's connected a good series of points along the way. So right now, at least, it is supporting. You could see that Friday's action was pretty much right off of the trend line. Okay, we got that nice bounce. People were waiting for that trend line. They were waiting for this action. And don't forget, at one point on Friday, we were below it. And so we rallied back above it, and we took out the previous day's open, which is not as good as taking out the previous day's high, but the fact that we took out the open, I think, is a good sign that we may potentially reverse a little bit and put in some higher prices in this coming week. Now, we also talked about the idea of maybe we just kind of consolidate in a range here and then break down or break out. That's also still valid. Maybe we push back up to 2060. So for right now, I think in the coming week, the way we're set up now, I would be surprised if, well, let's put it this way. If we don't continue higher, then there's definitely some weakness out there. The bulls are definitely in control. If we can continue higher and kind of hold this box, I think we're going to be at least in good shape for this coming week. Now, the next one we're going to look at is the NASDAQ, and it's a very similar pattern where we bounced right off of that trend line support. Okay, so you can see the trend line that was put in. Again, this one's coming from June of 2013 through the lows here in April and May of 2014. We had a small little hiccup here, but you could see again right off that trend line, almost to the tick. Now, I was concerned that we broke down below 40.90, and then sure enough, we got that bounce off the trend line. But now look at this one; it still hasn't broken above the open from the previous day, so not as strong of a move in the NASDAQ. But needless to say, for the bulls, I think it was needed, and I also think it could have potentially been the fact that we're going into a 3-day weekend. I don't know, maybe the shorts were a little scared. They didn't want to hold. It kind of felt like one of those short covering rallies. It was quick. It was fast. and like in the afternoon, it just continued to go and continued to go. So not sure exactly if it's actually people coming in and buying, or people that were short just covering. So we just have to pay attention to it. Again, for right now, trend line is in effect. Now on the Dow, I haven't looked at the Dow, but I'm pretty sure that we're gonna see the same thing. Yep. Okay, you can see here, trend lines in place. This one, again, using some previous lows right along the way. The only one that didn't hold was our little pullback that we had in October. Let's remove this drawing. And again, we talked about the potential hit for the head and shoulders. Came back in right off that trend line. And you can see here again, closed above the open from Thursday. So after a series of down moves, finally got maybe a little bit of a reversal candle. Now, whether this actually means anything, again, with the S&P, we have to wait and see. But I do think if the bulls want any kind of chance to keep this from breaking down, that they're going to have to hold Friday's low. All right, that's basically the line in the sand for me now. Under Friday's low, absolutely no doubt about it. Bears are in control, and we're probably headed lower. And the last one we'll take a look at, not as clean of a pattern in any way. It's more of a consolidation, which it's been doing for a long time, is the Russell. Okay, you can see here, no real trend in place, just sideways action. And then sure enough, we had a breakdown Thursday, and we took it right back higher, right back to the underside of the 50-day moving average. So again, if you wanted to draw any kind of trend, I would say your trend in the Russell is down. Okay, you can see it came back up, now back up. So let's see, does it roll back over, break down below, let's call it 1130. If it breaks below 1130, then definitely in the spot where bears are in control, and we're probably headed lower. And on the Russell's case, it could be much lower. It could be down here to like 1100. But for right now, it's holding, and again, we'll see how it plays out. So just to recap, I think this coming week, if the bulls want any kind of control, or to at least prevent a flush, they really need to hold Friday's lows in almost every indice that we look at. So that's what we're looking at for this week. Members, head on over to the strategy session, and the weekend update, and we'll put together a list of stocks that we're looking at. Surprisingly, there's a lot of our watch list stocks that held up from last week, which is a good sign. And we also added a lot for moving forward. So with the weakness, we're still finding some good setups. So head on over there, and we'll check it out. Take care, guys.